He said, listen, give me 2 years. You'll never want to come back. You'll have the adventure of a lifetime, and nobody will know you're gone.
You get deployed at 17 and a half. And now I was deployed from the New York Athletic Club. And we got actually deployed right out of the locker room from, you get beamed up to the ship, and then the ship takes off and you're gone for 20 years.
That's a very hard pill to swallow, but that's exactly how I experienced it. I was taken at 10 years old. I was taken and I was worked through several black programs. I was privately owned in the beginning. I did six or 7 years on Earth.
That's when all the stuff for the programs began for me. Specifically, the tracking that they had been doing since I was a kid, it followed me all the way through the military. And at that point, when I got to Diego Garcia, that's where I was taken off planet.
Kind of opened that floodgate for me. And then all of these recalls started coming in, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And the way I was describing it, she's like, I've never had this with a client, but you're describing a parallel life right now.
It's a combination of human and other species. I was able to remember the name on their uniform. It's USS Arcorp. That was putting me through some kind of recruitment tests from age 3 until 12. And 12 is when I was potentially, taken.
He said, with your scores, I guarantee you'll make commander and you'll make pilot. And I said, pilot of what? And he said, 4-kilometer-long starship. He told me what was going to happen. He says, you volunteer for the program, we'll put you in, you'll do 20 years, we'll send you back in time 20 years, age regress you 20 years, wipe your memory, and you'll just wake up in bed like nothing happened.
It's almost beyond words, it's beyond comprehension of how this could happen. Whoever's masterminding this, the Air Force, working with extraterrestrials, working with a lot of pretty wild technology, which I'll also get into. It's really beyond fathomable. It's beyond fathomable.
Hey guys, welcome back. Yes, we're back already. As I mentioned at the end of last episode, we're doing 3 episodes this week. So the next one will be live on Sunday night with Tony Rodriguez. So stay tuned for that. But until then, we are joined by Brad Olsen, and he's on a bit of an interview circuit right now. And obviously, you've been activated, Brad, because you must have something to share.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back on Journey to Truth. And yeah, I'm activated. I got the 4th printing of Beyond Esoteric coming off the printer assembly line as we speak, and book's done very well in the year since it's been out, and still very relevant and so much to talk about.
Right, exactly. And we're going to get into some of that, some other, I'm going to get your opinion on some current events also. Before we get started, guys, don't forget about the promo codes. 10% off CBD, Hopewell Farm CBD with promo code Journey to Truth 10. 10% off of the OMNIA radiation balancer with promo code Truth, all caps, and 20% off of all of our Teespring merch, promo code 20 and back. And all of those promo codes are good indefinitely, and we'll let you know if they change. And don't forget to grab a ticket to our Secret Space Conference, May 2nd through the 5th. It's coming up. We're really excited about it. Tickets are available on the website, secretspaceconference.info, and live stream tickets are available for $111 for anyone who can't make it, can't travel, or lives in another part of the world. We can't wait to see all of you guys. So that out of the way. What's going on, Brad? Hey. I know you've been busy lately. So what's going on?
What's going on? Well, I just came back from a ski trip up in the Sierras, and there's tons of snow up there. Boy, December not only set a new snow record in the Sierras in California and rain in the state, which we needed badly because it ends the drought. But now we're in this high pressure bubble and there's not a flake in sight until February. So wow. I think you're getting it all up in Portland, our rain. Aaron.
Yeah, I think we are.
Right on. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't read your book yet. Aaron has, or he's most of the way through it. And even before we set this interview up, Aaron was here for the holidays. He's like, man, this book is awesome. He covers everything, you know? So there's so much to dive in. There's so much to dive into. Basically, any direction we go with this conversation, you've probably covered it in the book. And obviously there's other stuff we can talk about, but honestly, like I titled this Our Fake and Rigged World, basically Our Rigged and Fake World. I got that from your book, and flipping the script, because that's the thing we need people to understand, is the illusion of everything that's happening right now, and how we can flip that and make this a positive timeline for ourselves, because everything is turning out to be, I mean, as fake as it gets. You know, we know the news is fake. The politicians, or the whole political arena, is just fake. It's an illusion. They're trigger events. They want our focus on that instead of what actually matters. So what are your thoughts on what's going on right now?
Yeah, great way to start the show off, because I'll tell you, I did 2 books in the Esoteric series before Beyond Esoteric, and that is Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses, and Future Esoteric.
I just got those, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when those books were first coming out 10 years ago, I was called every name in the book because people just could not grok this subject and call me conspiracy theorist. You know where that word is from? The CIA.
Oh, yeah.
Directly to throw off all the truth seekers surrounding the Warren Commission, which was investigating JFK's assassination. Yep. So just using that term, it shows you how indoctrinated people are and how they'll follow these terms. So this all goes into how fake everything is. There was a CIA director named William Colby who in the 1980s said, we'll know our disinformation campaigns are successful when everything the American people believe is fake. So they have been working on this for decades to try to get us down this rabbit hole where everything we believe is this fabricated big lie. And that was actually a term used in Nazi Germany to propagandize the people with the big lie. And Hitler and Goebbels, the propaganda minister, were often saying the bigger the lie, the more the people will believe it. And you just have to hit them with repetition. And you can see that happening in our fake news media all the time.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely. They just pump it into you, overwhelm you with it, bombard you with it everywhere you look. And then as soon as you break free from that narrative and say something else, you get that fluoride stare. People look at you like you're insane, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so true. And it goes all the way back. Like you said, our entire reality has been fabricated into an illusion. And even the key players, and I call them players because it's a big game, you know, like the politicians and celebrities and stuff. They're not who we think they are, unfortunately. And there's a lot of, there's a satanic background, there's occultism, and it's all based on this evil, this darkness. And that's what we're here uncovering.
I love it. You guys are the journey to truth. And all the while, I haven't been called those names so much anymore. And the people who used to call me those names, they're real quiet these days. Although I haven't been offered an apology, not that I'm looking for one or thinking that it's coming my way. It's just one of those things that happens during the Great Awakening. And I'm just very happy that people are finally starting to get all this, that we have been manipulated on a psychic level. This whole thing is a giant psyops, what we're dealing with in the last 2 years. And the more people start to understand that, the quicker they wake up, and hopefully the faster we can get through this.
Right. Exactly. So going, you mentioned Nazis, and so we had, obviously World War II. That's when a lot of this, I mean, this has been going on forever, but that's when this really started. The Project Paperclip, which I was just reading about that actually, and it's funny how they named it that, because I guess Truman at the time made it illegal for Nazis to infiltrate the U.S. after the war, and so so they weren't allowed to come over here, all the paperclip scientists. So instead, they just basically paperclipped a new identity on top of their old identity, and that got them in. It was that's why they called it Project Paperclip. And I just thought, I think it's hilarious, but that's where it all started. And obviously that's where the infiltration started. And it's really hard to wrap your head around how backwards everything actually is.
In my book, Future Esoteric, The Unseen Realms, I have a chapter called The Fourth Reich in America. And be mindful that America also consists of South America, where a lot of them went to right after the war. The Vatican created what were known as the rat lines to give them new identities. If they were really, really dangerous criminals, and I do believe Hitler himself escaped 3 years ago. I was down in South America and went to a lot of these locations, including Bariloche, which is, I've been to Germany many times, and it was like going into a Bavarian village down there, and other places like La Falda, Argentina, just above Cordoba, which was like the Detroit of South America, where a lot of the production took place. And a lot of their backward engineering went down there as well, including Antarctica, which I went to 3 years ago, in search of all these mysteries. So the paperclip Nazis, that refers to the ones that came to America. And they were like the ones that weren't too hot, so to speak, that they weren't the real Joseph Mengele, who lived out his whole life in South America, never was brought to justice. Very few were. It was funny when I was traveling in Bolivia, I'm flipping through the Lonely Planet, said to my travel mate, Emily Infinity, I'm like, oh, look, we're in this town where Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Leon, changed his identity and lived out the rest of his life behind a lumber mill in this small Bavarian town. I mean, it's even in the Lonely Planet, which is like the mainstream media of travel books, about these Nazis who escaped justice. So this was the Fourth Reich. Right. They actually implemented the whole system for creating an underground government, more of an intelligence apparatus, but with all the best toys that they could shepherd out of Germany before the end of the war, which went to largely South America and Antarctica. Yeah. And we are feeling the repercussions of this to this day. In fact, you can see how much fascism ideology has entered our dialogue in this country.
Yeah. I mean, that is the dialogue that they're pushing. Yeah. And it's interesting because when they left after World War II, when they left Germany, they went through the Red Cross. The Red Cross had an establishment, a building, and they all got a Red Cross visa with a new identity, a fake name, new identity. And they basically scrubbed their Nazi label, right? And then they went to South America, and they all went through this Catholic church that basically cleansed them of all their Nazi sins and solidified the new identity and gave them a new life free of any repercussions in Argentina. And that's how they did it. So it was all a big master plan. But yeah, we're seeing the ramifications of that now everywhere.
We had some of the Nazi rocket scientists like Hermann Oberth and Werner von Braun came here to start NASA in this country. You had Reinhard Gehlen, who really should have been at the Nuremberg trials for war crimes against humanity. He came out here and he helped start up the CIA. Yeah, what do you know? Another Nazi infiltration. And then you also have the MK Ultra psychological operation doctors coming here as well. You know, the K in Ultra is spelled Kontrolle. That's the German spelling for control. And indeed, MK Ultra is a product of Nazi Germany. So that mass hypnosis that they have inflicted upon the American people for decades is a direct output of the ideology of Nazi Germany.
Exactly. I was going to bring up MK Ultra actually, because that's really how they're pulling us off. It's mind control, and that's obviously pumping fake narratives, fake news into the society. It's a form. It is a version of mind control, but it's happening on all different levels, subliminally and obviously right in your face. And obviously the whole Big Brother aspect of everything. And I know you talk about that in your book also.
Yeah, I have a chapter on MK Ultra in Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. And it's very important for people to understand that it's not just the people who were inflicted in these programs and what they did to them on a personal level, but that it was a psychological operation against the American people that has been underway, like that quote from William Kobe, for decades. And of course, they infiltrated all the mass media through Operation Mockingbird. That is, CIA directives have been part of our narrative. They call it the 4 a.m. talking points, because at 4 a.m., all the fax machines at all the news agencies and TV stations start firing up. Here's your talking points for the day. And we all know that in mainstream media, journalism is dead. These guys don't do any research. They're just reading off a teleprompter. You can get a monkey to read lines too, and it'd be about the same.
Exactly.
It would be. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's not about research. It's about, they don't even have an option. And we do see, fortunately and gratefully, we have some journalists, some news anchors who break free from that, come forward. They see what's going on and they try and blow the whistle on it. We see some of those people coming through Project Veritas and stuff like that. But as soon as they do that, their life is threatened at that point. It's not easy for them. They have to come forward, and it's a scary thing to do. And it should not be like that.
Should not be like that. Look, Project Veritas had their offices raided, and they went to the guy's home. And here's the last bastion of honest journalism getting harassed by the FBI, so they're still supporting this fake media narrative. But the more that they go after the truth seekers, that to me shows that the lie is starting to break down. Because the last tool of censorship is you have to start locking them down and going after the truth tellers. So maybe that's a good sign that we're winning this information war.
I do think it's a good sign. It's also disheartening sometimes whenever you're just getting stopped around every corner. It's really hard to get this information out there without being shut down. But it's also a good thing, because why are they so scared? What are they trying to shut down? Exactly. It's a modern day book burning, and they're backed into a corner. They don't have anything else to do. And unfortunately, in some areas, like they come to your door, like in Australia, they're doing whatever they can to shut certain people up. And just counting our blessings right now. We're not really over the target as some of these other people who are really covering what's going on right now with this pandemic and all that stuff. But it's still, it's just crazy.
Well, I spent 6 months in Australia, and it's very similar to here. The people very much freedom loving citizenry, and unfortunately, they gave up their guns, so they have no way to fight back. But things you see happening in Australia could very easily happen here, including the quarantine camps. And the state of Washington, just above you, Aaron, is meant to vote on whether people can be forcibly brought into these FEMA camps. That is what they are, but they'll call them something like quarantine camps for your safety. It's always for your health. Remember that.
Camp is.
Go ahead, keep going. I know exactly what it's called. I'm gonna look it up real quick because my friend who lives there, he's sending me information about it, and he's like, "This is absolutely insane." So on January 12th, actually the 12th, today, they are voting on. How are they wording this? Basically a COVID camp, basically like you said. I'm not going to read all this. Sorry, I just butchered that. But yeah, today they're voting on it, whether or not they're going to make it legal to put people in the quarantine camps, basically. And that's insane.
The fact that they're even voting on it, and this would even go to their assembly, should tell you that this is what's in the works for the rest of us. I mean, Aaron, you're just one state away. I'm 2 states away. We're all in this blue state nightmare politics, and it's only a matter of time. I mean, this is the agenda. So do we fight back like they did in Kazakhstan, which was very successful in booting out all the globalists? And by the way, the city Ashtana, although it's got a new name, it's like Dur Solomon or something stupid like that. I always call it Ashtana. The original name is called the weirdest city in the world. It's a new capital that had was going to be the one religion government center. The one world religion is going to be centered in Kazakhstan, the capital city Ashtana. And just last week they had riots there, and it all started when they said you can't even go to access your funds in a bank without one of the COVID passports. And that was enough for the people. And they went ballistic and burned down buildings. And while several dozen protesters were killed or seriously injured, they also killed a few cops and even beheaded them and said, if you're not going to join us, we're coming after you. And the president and the prime minister have fled Kazakhstan. And in no way do I endorse violence as a solution, but I'll say that when people are pushed to the edge, like you can't even go to the bank and get your own money, yeah, they're going to freak out. And as well they should.
And even if everybody tried to go to the bank and get their money all at once, the bank doesn't have their money anyway. And then that'll expose the banking system. Some people, when I bring it up to them, I'm like, the bank doesn't have your money. Imagine if every member of that bank went on the same day to withdraw their money. They don't have it. They can't give it to you. It's all an illusion. Money is numbers on a computer screen, and you can subtract and add as many as you want, and that's how it works. And it's all, and yeah, but if that were to happen here, I can totally see how that would cause people to revolt, Yeah.
How's it looking up there in Portland, Aaron? Are there any draconian measures being discussed in your government?
Not that I know of. I mean, you have to wear a mask in everywhere. That's the whole state of Oregon. And yeah, that's about it as far as like I see. But I wouldn't doubt if that same thing would happen here, or yeah. I mean, it's when you know who runs the state here, it's it's pretty clear where they're at.
Right. Well, it's so in your opinion, what can be done? Like, what can we do, obviously, to break free from this? It's always doom and gloom right now. And everybody, I don't want people to think that's what we're pushing, because I feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And in some aspects, we are starting to see that. And I don't know what it's going to take. And I know you don't have the answer either, but it's interesting to chat about.
Well, I'm very much an advocate of nonviolent resistance, and it does have an effect. Look, Martin Luther King in this country, what he did for racial equality, advocating nonviolent resistance, based on what Gandhi did in India to kick out the Brits and create the freedom for that country. On the back of my book, All That Is Hidden Will Be Revealed. And on the back of Modern Esoteric, the headline is The Revolution is Consciousness. So I think it's us waking up to all that's been hidden. For people like you, I'm preaching to the choir. This kind of information is very well known. But for people who are on the fence, that's will make a difference with. And it really is a numbers game, you guys. It is the consciousness movement of us waking up. We have so many more than our oppressors in numbers that when enough of us do awaken to this and practice this nonviolent resistance, we can make a difference that way.
Right. Exactly. That's why, mass meditations and all that stuff are effective. And, there's actually studies on it. But if we all like collectively raise our frequency to a certain level, whatever that may be, it doesn't even take getting out into the streets and protesting, because that energy alone, that frequency alone is going to flip the system, flip the script, I guess, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And once we like rise above that dualistic nature, and realize that we're all one and we can unite and we have strength in numbers, it's over for them. And that's their biggest fear. They don't want us to ever find out our true potential.
No, they don't. And it is a fight to the death for them. They will not go down easy. And I think they still got a few more dirty tricks up their sleeve in the form of false flag operations, or maybe even a Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion. Right. They have the technology to do that, and it's far more realistic than anybody realizes. Not only would you see craft in the sky, perhaps even a crash in which I understand is even tactile, that you could even touch it, but it's still fake.
Right.
But also voice to skull technology, so you would hear the voices almost like a schizophrenic, hearing these voices in your head kind of thing. So they're very devious, and really I would not put anything past them in their hour of desperation when they're just fighting for their very mere existence. And after what happened in Kazakhstan, I think they're seeing the writing on the wall that people are going to rise up against their tyranny. And let's just hope Americans wake up soon, because in Europe you see these demonstrations, tens, 100,000 people in some of these cities now. They're just fed up. They don't want to go any further with this at all. And good on them for doing it in this nonviolent way. But Americans, there's a saying that Americans won't do anything until they feel the pinch. Mm-hmm. Well, we're starting to feel the pinch. And even in supermarkets, the shelves are going bare. And we all know gas has doubled in a year and so forth. But there's more of a pinch, like the full lockdown again and opening up these quarantine camps and things like that. So we still have a lot ahead of us.
Right. Let's go back to the blue beam technology you were talking about. So I have a friend who's ex-Navy, and he's involved in some pretty, I guess, I don't know, amphibious stuff. He's underground a lot in some of these tunnels that we hear about. And he explained to me the blue beam technology is already ready to go on the surface. He said it looks like a 50-gallon trash can. The size of a 50-gallon trash can looks like an electric generator on the side of the road. And he said that's where, he goes, they're all over the place. You drive past them every day. He goes, that technology is hidden in there, and it's all gridded out perfectly. So if they ever got the green light, it's all there. It's ready to go. And in some cases, I've heard even a lot of the buildings and structures are pre-rigged with explosives. So they can fire a blue beam laser, a fake laser, holographic laser at a building, and then detonate the explosive. And this is how they're going to attempt to pull this off, if it even happens, which I hope it doesn't, but I don't know what the hell they expect anymore.
Well, but that's good you bring that up, Tyler, because at least people would be aware. Unlike 9/11, which was very similar to what you just described, we were unaware. Now we can see through the lies. You see, their false flags lose their power the more they do them and the more people wake up. I have several pages of what Project Bluebeam is, and it's not just the fake alien invasion. In fact, it starts with HAARP-induced earthquakes, which we're seeing in the rarest of places.
Yeah.
Which I think is taking out the dumbs, but at least that's a good thing. But what they would also do is start to find giant bones or craft under the ice. This is also happening now down in Antarctica. Some real big stories coming out of there right now, some unconfirmed. But when I went down there 3 years ago, I was very much looking for any evidence of craft under the ice, antediluvian civilization, pyramids poking through. And while my the area I went to is very limited, nonetheless, there are, including through Dr. Michael Sala, one of my colleagues, who does a lot in Antarctica, he had a whistleblower that just came out with some GPS coordinates of a base, which had before not been seen on Google Earth. I know, because I scour Google Earth. I've looked at all the mountain ranges and stuff down there, and I know a lot of other researchers have too. They're starting to give us information on Google Earth, just like S4 near Area 51. You can look at it on Google Earth now. Before that had been blurred out, and there are big sections of Antarctica that were blurred out too. So this is starting to change. There is a bit of an opening now. So then the next step after that is the big fake space show involving sounds and extremely realistic holograms in the sky using technology that has been kept secret from the public. But look, holograms are extremely realistic. Who's it? Tupac Shakur and Michael Jackson going on tour as holograms? People paying money to go to their shows. Yeah. And you think they're up there giving a concert, but it's not them. They're dead. And so part of the fake space show would also include images of your religion. So in Christian nations, you'd see Jesus Christ in the sky. And again, voice to skull technology, you'd hear them communicating with you. Muslim countries might see Muhammad. Out in the Far East, they would see Buddha and communicate in the language of the people. See, that's how devious they would be in getting in there. And then the third step would be called the telepathic electronic two-way communication using this voice to skull technology, this mental battlefield. And then once they have all that set up, then they can do the financial crash going into the Great Reset. So this was actually part of the game plan to bring forth this whole Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab of the Hut and all these globalists who are trying to roll this out on us, thinking to make us think, oh, this is going to be a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. Anything the globalists say they want us to do, just think the opposite.
Right. Klaus Schwab is like the Antichrist himself. I mean, the things that he's pushing for are all anti-life. It has nothing to do with the future of humanity in a benevolent way. That guy, I don't know. It's amazing. These people are being pushed to the forefront too. Obviously, it's so obvious.
Well, they did cancel the World Economic Forum, which should be taking place right around now. And so there's things that are happening that are actually very positive, that the globalists aren't having their confabs anymore and go into the next phase. So I think there are things happening behind the scenes, and maybe some of these globalists are running for their lives.
Right.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I think so too.
Going back to the hologram technology, because I think it's being used a lot more than we might even realize. Like, I don't know, a year ago or so, remember that footage of the Pope where he just disappears? Literally, he's in the window and he turns around and walk away and he disappears. But there's another camera where he doesn't disappear and people are just say it was a camera glitch. I don't think so. I honestly think like for some reason or another, he glitched out on that camera. The hologram disappeared on that camera, but not the other camera. Mm-hmm. And there's no sauce for, people flip out whenever you talk about things that don't have any sauce, but there's no sauce. We're living in a world that's designed to bury the evidence. So we're not going to find the evidence we're looking for. So we have to analyze videos like that and connect the dots and come and draw our own conclusions. And to me, like, it's silly just to ignore all the stuff that we actually know exists, like blue beam technology and whatever else.
And using the green screen and Sleepy Joe in front of the microphones. Did you see that glitch where
Yep.
He was clearly in some kind of sound stage, and Tyler Perry down in Atlanta, Georgia has a set with a White House outside replica where they're shooting videos, and the Castle Rock in LA studios that has interior, and you find all kind of inconsistencies and even false walls. And one time, Jen Psaki, the press secretary, is doing a press briefing, and she goes, oh, hold on a second, and there's a plane flying over. There's no planes flying over the White House. That never happens. That is the most restricted airspace in the world. So all these little clues should tell you how fake everything is, including our politics and the president of this country.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. It's the fake rigged world. I mean, it really is. And I wonder, to me, I don't know, like this could go one of two ways. Either they're just that dumb for some, I don't know why they're making it so obvious. For the people that want to see it, they have the eyes to see, we can see right through it. You know, It's so obvious, and it's like almost laughable at times. I'm like, we're literally watching a movie here. Like 100%, this is not actually happening. And I just wonder why they're being forced. Either they want us to see it, or why is the deep state being forced to operate like this outside of the White House on movie sets and with holograms and body doubles and actors and masks, whatever it might be? Why are they being forced to do that? What's actually going on? Do we actually have the white hats have the upper hand, or I don't know.
Well, there's an old technique called revelation of the method. And that is because Earth and humans are free will, that they have to show us what they're doing. They have to reveal the method of their operation. And many times they mock us with that. It's all the Satanistic emblems and ideologies and different things that are put in Hollywood movies and music and television. You can see this stuff. They're revealing themselves because they have to. And that's the nature of the occultist way of doing this, because we do have the free will. And therefore, if they didn't show us, then they would be going against the whole notion that we have the opportunity to see what they're up to. So like you said, Tyler, people who are awakened are seeing right through this and are rejecting the mainstream narrative altogether. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that shows we are waking up.
Sometimes I definitely
last week, and the guy was pulling up the live data, and we were higher rated than CNN right then at that hour. So there are a lot of people who are turning away from the fake narrative, turning on to shows like Journey to Truth, and understanding that we have been lied to and manipulated for a long time, and are not going along with this revelation of the method anymore. And we're sick of being mocked and lied to and manipulated. It's just their time is done. And
yeah,
so,
I just wonder how far they're going to push it, you know, because they're not making it easy for us. That's for damn sure. And in some cases, I wonder, I'm like, they're just mocking us. Like they're seeing like how much bullshit they can spew out before people like start noticing it. And some people just take the bait, you know, and it's crazy. But I know they're mocking us sometimes with these narratives. It's like, come on, like, how do you not see that?
Well, and unfortunately, it's usually older people who are still falling for it. Because look, our parents, they grew up in the era of Walter Cronkite. He was the most trusted man in America. Well, he was a journalist. He did research his own stories, but he went along with JFK assassination and the Warren Commission, and he had his handlers telling him what to do. And in the end of the day, he was still reading off the teleprompter. But it should just go to show that the older generation, they just believed everything the television told them. And Richard Nixon even was quoted as saying in the early 1970s, the American people will not believe anything until they see it on television. Unfortunately, that's starting to break down now, and it's going over to the alternative media like you guys. And I really applaud what you do, because I think history will remember you very favorably for putting your neck out there at a time when censorship and so much more has been coming down on us, myself included, that we just have to keep fighting the good fight, knowing that what we're doing is helping people wake up.
Right. And thank you for saying that. And this doesn't come without ridicule, as you know, like you said, in the early days of your books coming out and stuff, there still is a large number of people that would tune in and laugh at this. And we still even get those comments under our videos. Somehow these people stumble across and they just think it's absolute bullshit what we're talking about. And it's very belittling. Their comments are very belittling, like they just have some authority and they know better and we're just all idiots, and that's what we're up against right now, as a group of people that actually just doesn't get it,
Doesn't get it.
Yeah.
But you know what? People wake up at their own speed, and I've since given up and trying to really force anything on anyone. They'll just get it when they get it. And if they make a decision about what they decide to inject into their body, that's their free will. That's their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see how this all plays out in the coming years. But I'm glad to be a pure blood. I'll tell you that. And I'm going to go out for my jog later on today, feeling rest assured that my heart's going to beat just fine. And I'm not going to have any blood clotting issues or anything else that comes along with that. So we do what we think is right, but we also predicate our decisions on information. And look, we have our God-given abilities to discern and see what's right and see what's wrong and feel it too. Don't forget your intuition is very powerful. Yeah. That's you communicating with your guides or spirit guides or whatever you want to call them. But I do believe, because I know that we're spirits in a human body, that we have a connection out there. And if you tune that out, you're losing one of your greatest abilities to discern. And I think those guides of ours are helping us in our decisions. If you are listening,
right,
tune them out, watch TV. It's real easy to miss out on all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the biggest reasons why so many people are so easily programmed and manipulated is because if you look at all of society, how they program us, and all the entertainment and everything else, it's they want you out of your heart space, right? So it's all like lower chakra. They want you stuck in the lower chakras and then stuck in your mind. And when completely out of your heart space, because that's where the intuition is, and the heart just knows, right? And the heart is what where you just know the truth, and and you live from that space, and that's where all the power is. Well, when you're out of that and you're stuck in your mind and you're stuck in the lower chakras, you're operating solely from that space, and that's how they program you from that space. And until you can break out of that and get in your heart, really, it's going to be really hard for you to break free of the programming.
Right. And not just that, your gut also. So like the Native Americans and ancient cultures all said we have three brains, the heart, the gut, and then our logical brain.
The gut too. Yeah.
And they said it goes in order, starting with the gut, your immediate gut feeling you get in any situation, go with that. If this is good or bad, it's pretty simple. If it feels right or if it doesn't. And then after that, you process it with your heart. You feel into it, you progress, you proceed in that heart center, in that heart space, like Aaron said. But they say where mankind has gone wrong is the second we overthink those feelings, that's when we're off. That's when we're thrown off course and we start overthinking it and we dwell on it and our logical mind gets in the way. This is just like our brain is basically just for functionality. Get to point A to point B, work our body. But the actual brain system that we should be listening to is the heart and the gut.
Well said, guys. And also keep in mind that our brain has two hemispheres. The left side is this logic and reasoning and how we can be manipulated into thinking things are that way. And certainly the media preys upon that. Our school system also says, memorize these stats. That's all left brain. Right brain is the creative side. Right brain is how we process these very difficult subjects. And that part of learning has been pushed aside. It's all, you memorize this and you'll be tested on this. And that's all that matters. So just follow the programming. Right. Isn't it funny that television is called programming? tell live vision that keep us in that left hemisphere, and all the rest, including the heart and the gut, oh, that doesn't matter. That's just superstition or whatever. Right. But I'll tell you, isn't it interesting that the Native Americans, as you said, Aaron and Tyler, they talk about the internal aspects of who we are. And that is exactly what the chakras are as well. And so I love it when you get these data points that connect to this ancient wisdom in other cultures around the world that could have never had a connection with each other, such as the ancient India Vedas being connected to Native American teachings. How did they both know the same sort of thing?
Exactly.
And
the Native Americans, they all have long hair, and they believe their hair is an extension of their nervous system. It's an antenna, and that's how they connect with spirit. There's a lot of they have purpose behind everything they do. It's not they just have long hair because it looks cool, like we do. But going back,
they understood the importance of connection to nature,
right?
And whereas like we've been so cut off from that in the programming, modern society.
Exactly. They lock you up inside of a building that resembles a prison to teach you their narrative. and they take you out of nature where you should be learning and connecting and communicating even with the animals. It's all possible.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Going back to the brain, the left and right brain, like you kept saying the left brain, the right brain. Well, they're creating an imbalance. They want that out of balance. And a friend of mine, their child was just insane, bouncing off the walls. He was failing in school. They wanted to put him on Ritalin. They said he had ADHD. They're like, no, I'm not drugging my kid. I'm not doing that. So they explored other options. They found this brain balance program, and they put him in this brain balance program where they make him do exercises with one eye covered for like a week. And then they change his diet. Also, they put him on a healthy diet, high vibe diet. They make him do exercises with one eye closed for a week. And then the next week they do, the other eye closed or covered, whatever. And this goes on for however long, but immediately within like 2 weeks, I would say a week to 2 weeks, this kid was a different person. He was one of the best students in the class. He had calmed down, and it took no medication. It just took simple reprogramming of his brain and balancing out the left and right brain. And that's what we see happening, not just within children, but within everybody.
And how that imbalance is really from cradle to grave impressed upon us that, hey, that's just the way it is, that you just always stick with the logical mind and believe what we're telling you because we're the authority. And that's how they got us. That's the big lie. And it's been this psychological operation that has been put upon the American people for not only our entire lifetimes, but really our parents too. And they just still haven't really seen through it yet. Some have, but the majority have not. That is how good their disinformation campaign has been. Like William Colby said, everything the American people believe is false,
right?
Including what we think our body can do. And one chapter in Beyond Esoteric is about the bioterrain. And I think it's very, very important that people understand that the entire allopathic medicine, including the WAC, is all predicated on this debate that was occurring in the 19th century with the father of germ theory. Louis Pasteur himself is considered the father of germ theory, and his belief then was one germ, one cure. And so we just got to hit it with these chemicals, and Big Pharma saw an opportunity, formed itself, and has been very much iron grip. This is the way it is. The Rockefellers got into it. They were a petroleum family. John D. Rockefeller, the first billionaire in the world, got into it because pharmaceutical products, most pills that come out of the pharmacy, and isn't it funny that the P is silent in pharmacy? So really it's big pharma.
Yeah. Right. Pharmacy.
No coincidence there, I think.
Yep.
That is a byproduct of the petroleum industry. Yes. So back to Louis Pasteur. He was saying one germ, one cure, but there were others in the late 19th century France And I spoke to Robert O. Young at a conference and went up to him and talked to him and asked questions during his talk and said, was it really true that other people who are saying it is not all about one germ, one cure? Because look, if germs were so deadly, human race would have been gone a long time ago. I mean, they're all over the place. But how we treat our bodies, how we treat the inner terrain, and really the immune system is the last resort to go after things that get into our body. The bioterrain is essential. And so Claude Bernard was one of the detractors of Louis Pasteur, and he said, no, the terrain is everything. He was so sure of himself and this theory about the terrain. He drank a glass of cholera-tainted water and did not catch cholera, proving that when the body is stressed, when the body is in a state of malnourishment or lack of sleep even, but anything that brings us to a lower state, then we're vulnerable to these diseases and these germs can come in. But if you keep the terrain rock solid strong, you exercise, you get enough sleep every night, you eat well, then none of this is going to matter. None of it.
Yeah.
And that is our greatest, and I would say one of the most important esoteric subjects that people could understand, because it's our greatest protection against illness and good health and staying healthy.
And the system is designed to create lack of sleep, stress, and fatigue, and to beat us down so we do get sick. And obviously it's all a big grand master plan.
And then you get on meds, and then you go to the hospital and get on there further into the system that way.
Side effects
depending on those things. Yeah.
Well, and then the big, it's so obvious. So turn on the TV and listen to the health experts. Listen to all of them that are being pushed on the mainstream media. What are they talking about? They're not talking about nutrition, diet, exercise, not at all. The three things that are crucial to a healthy immune system. They're only talking about the jab. They're only talking about a mask. That's it. That's not health. That is an agenda. And if you can't see it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And one step further, stay inside so you're not getting the vitamin D that you get from the sun.
Right.
The greatest source of vitamins to build the immune system and to strengthen the terrain. You don't get it when you stay inside and wearing those face diapers. You're breathing all the toxins that your body's trying to get out.
Yeah.
So none of it makes sense. Exactly. Everything is inverted. Everything is opposite. What they're telling you to do is what you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Well, there's no doubt that there's no doubt we're going to get this pulled for medical misinformation now.
Well, this probably you cut.
That's usually the excuse they give us whenever we talk about this subject. But I don't even care anymore. If they pull it, we have Rumble. We're at other places, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
We might get another strike too.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Whatever, man.
We avoided the V word, but
yeah,
we did. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Maybe.
Right. But we can change the subject, I guess. Going back once again to the brain, I was just reading William Tompkins' book, Selected by Extraterrestrials, Volume 2, which is actually fascinating. That book is loaded with golden nuggets of information that really aren't in his interviews. There's a lot of details there that you just don't hear him talk about, but it's in the book. But he claims to have been a part of one of the think tanks, one of the programs that were developing age regression pills. And he has mentioned this in an interview, but he explained like the testing and what they were doing. He said they found a way to essentially shut something down. I don't remember the terminology, but shut something down in the left side of the brain that forces the right side of the brain to self-heal and stop degenerating. And he said there's like a 6 months worth of pills that you take every like so many days or whatever. And then by the end of that 6 months, you completely stop aging. And this is the elites and celebrities, and a lot of people actually have access to this. And he said this was even the basis of the research for the 20 and Back program that developed in 1980 that he also claimed to be a part of And he explained in depth how that worked. And the age regression technology is very real, and it's already in pill form, and it could be sold to us if it was ever released.
Fascinating.
Right.
And I saw you're going to have Tony Rodriguez on in the next couple of days, and our friends, and we were even hotel guest room together as speakers at the last conference. And I drove out to Inyokern, where he was as a child, and you can ask him this on the interview you did with him, but I think he was age regressed because he did 20 and back, and
yeah.
So he has not been back to Inyokern, and I had him on a video phone and was showing him around. He's like, "Oh, focus up on that mountain. I remember that. I was thinking maybe I can escape and get up there." So it'll be interesting if you guys talk to him about it.
Yeah,
yeah, they're using it in the 20 and back. I know a lot of the super soldiers, James Rink as well, and these guys are young and fit, and and Randy Kramer, he has lived about 80 years, but he's only in a 50-year-old body. So they have these things that can work. And have you guys ever heard of the Integratron down near near Giant Rock?
I don't think I have.
I've heard about it.
This is a great story. I'll tell you guys this. So there was this guy named George Van Tassel. He was in the early years of the very first contactees, and he was in contact with benevolent ETs, and he was given direction to build this Integratron. It's still there, but it has never gone online. Right before he was about to finish it, the Men in Black, these infamous, I think they're hybrids, but of the dark side, shut him down and sabotaged the operation and really helped bankrupt him. And I met his nephew, Chad Van Tassel, at a conference once, and we were going to an after party or something. We were the first two there, and I got to speak to Chad one-on-one and said, "Chad, how did he do it?" And he said, the benevolent ETs came directly to Giant Rock, and he had his own landing strip there, and it's far enough away that nobody could see a craft kind of coming down and landing. And other witnesses were saying that they're coming by to make a delivery or something to George Van Tassel. "Hey, who are those tall guys in the jumpsuit?" And they'd be working on wiring and stuff, and look back and they'd be gone, stuff like that. So the benevolent ETs were building this Integratron, which was basically not a single nail was used. It was all wood joints and everything, and it's a big dome. You can still go out and see it, and they do sounding operations, but they haven't been able to bring it online ever again. But what it would do is create negative ions, which are known to interact with the human body and be very good for you too. That's why whenever you go near flowing water, like waves crashing on the beach or waterfalls or flowing water, that's why a lot of people like to have a little flowing water in their backyard or even in their home, is because it's creating these negative ions. And so the Integratron would create it on a wholesale level. And that is why with Billy Meyer contactees, with Semjay and other Pleiadians and Syrians who are very human-like, you wouldn't even be able to tell them walking down the street. But Semjay, who looks like a 28-year-old supermodel, is about 120 years old. So it reverses the aging process using this high dosage of negative ions. I'm sure other things, including their health, is much different than what we're used to. I mean, just to go back to how everything is reversed, look at how when you watch television, every single food commercial is what you should not be eating.
Yeah.
Exactly. Apple a day keeps the doctor away commercials, or eat a healthy salad, everybody. You don't see that. You see what you shouldn't be eating, and that's fried food and fast food and sponge junk you should keep out of your body. So that's why we have to be very, very wise about what we do with our body and how we treat it. And that is, for now, the anti-aging process that we can practice.
Right. And I do believe, just by changing your diet, you can, because whatever GMOs, whatever chemicals, ingredients are in these foods are causing us to rapidly age. I'm sure of it. And it's causing major health issues. And They never discuss diet. And, we're all guilty of eating a cheeseburger or whatever it might be, this we know is not healthy for us. That's why I'm waiting for like a planet that has all that stuff that's unhealthy for us, but it's healthier. A planet that has healthy cheeseburgers and healthy pizza. And healthy.
It tastes the same, but it's actually healthy.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, think about it. They do that on purpose. What's the best way to poison someone? They make it taste amazing and make you want it. You're not gonna put a piece of shit on a plate. They're not gonna eat that.
Yeah. And you get addicted to it. And
chemicals.
Exactly.
There's chemical, like Starbucks is a big one. Whatever they're putting in that, man, it causes a freaking frenzy every morning. The drive-through is wrapped around half the freaking county here.
I used to work at Starbucks. I know.
And there's coffee everywhere. It's not just that Starbucks is popular and good. There's something in that is bringing you back.
Hey, just a real quick thing on coffee, and I do love to drink it myself. If you sprinkle a little baking soda, just a little couple pinches on your coffee before it brews, you turn an acidic drink into an alkaline drink. And then I also mix in a little diatomaceous earth.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to process any other way, but in coffee, can't hardly taste it. And then you get that tablespoon of diatomaceous earth, and that helps cleanse out the intestines and get rid of impurities. So it's a double shot. You drink an alkaline drink, and you also can help the body get all the junk out of there too.
I'm gonna have to start doing that.
Medical misinformation, guys. That is medical misinformation. We are not health experts.
Now YouTube's really gonna. Yeah.
Oh, it's a healthy cure. Yeah, we can't have that.
Yeah, can't have people's coffee being super healthy.
Right. No.
Yeah, I'm a big coffee fan as well. But again, yeah, sometimes it's like it gets too much. There was a while where I drank way too much coffee every day, and I got super addicted. So I try to keep it less these days. But that, yeah, I'm gonna start doing that.
Well, the whole
taste it.
What's the phrase? Nice. Caffeinate so you can't meditate. There's a reason caffeine is pushed, because our mind is never really calm and I love caffeine. Like, don't get me wrong, like we all use it and we need it. Not everybody, right? But if you really think about it, it's a perfect strategy to keep people from meditating and calming their mind and just
too much caffeine. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what they want. That's why energy drinks and all that stuff, which
yeah, most energy drinks are terrible.
Right. But there's a reason that's all pushed,
Monster with 666 in the
end. Yep.
Yeah, Monster. Yeah, you seen that video? Yeah. And then in the O of the monster is a cross, and whenever it's upside down, it's an upside down cross, and their motto is unleash the beast. And the slashes are actually Hebrew number sixes, so
Hebrew
it's 666. Yeah. It's pretty much in your face. Yeah. And not to mention, it's like neon glowing green, like the most unnatural color that you should ever be putting in your body.
Yeah.
Unleash the beast. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. So, Brad, I know we talked beforehand. You're friends with Ed Spina. We've had guys, if you don't know who Ed Spina is, he's an amazing healer. We've had him on the show in the past, and we just released a highlight video of that episode. Brad saw that and he's like, man, I got an amazing story I got to tell you about Ed. And we weren't going to talk about it, but I think we're just going to go ahead and talk about it, because who cares at this point if, we're already breaking all the rules as far as censorship goes. So I'm very interested. I know it deals with the Vegas shooting, right?
Right. Well, we've already crossed the Rubicon, so let's just go that way. So I was a speaker at a conference in Las Vegas just a week and a half after the Las Vegas shooting, and where we were doing the conference was just a block away. It was very, very close to the Mandalay Bay and the concert area where dozens of people were shot and killed. And I do believe that was a real shooting. There was some videos that actually made it online where people were going up and pressing somebody's vein to see if they were still alive, and you'd see the blood come out. That would be very, very hard to fake with mannequins or any other way with CG. And there were dozens of those kind of videos, and other people who were blowing the whistle immediately following the Vegas shooting, saying that they saw a shooter on the ground, died. So they had to really lock down this narrative tight. So we were there for a conference and decided they were going to go forward with it and didn't cancel. But we walked out there, and so the first weird thing that happened is Awakening Man on Twitter. He was filming. He films everything everywhere he goes. So he was a block away in the parking lot of Hooters, and he was filming, just started filming. And the police came up right away and said, "You can't film here." And not only did they make him stop filming, but the feed got taken down. It got deleted. So that was the first thing. And then me and another speaker, we went for a walk around the perimeter, and it was all yellow taped off still. It was still an active investigation scene. But right when we were under Mandalay Bay, and there were still boards up on the window from the broken windows of the room, you could see directly the line from the room to the scene. And there were trees, and there was a cell phone tower, and not a single bullet hole could be seen in any of them. Okay, and that was in the direct line of fire, and hundreds or thousands of rounds were supposedly shot out of that window by Stephen Paddock, who was really a patsy. He was a gun runner. He went up there to deliver some weapons. And what the whole thing was about was they were going to take out the young prince of Saudi Arabia. What's his name? Bin Salman. And he will still be king, and he is still alive. It was a coup because the Saudi family owns the top floors of the Mandalay Bay. And so it was a gun deal gone bad. And there's some evidence that he was tipped off by Trump himself, who is friends with bin Salman and wanted to stop this from happening. So this is right after it happened. Ed Spina and another psychic and we all went out to dinner on the last night of the conference, and I was sitting right across from him. And I said, can you guys give a little insight into what happened? And what they said was exactly what has just recently come out in a WikiLeaks dump, that there were FBI shooters on the ground. So that the gun running deal went bad. Yeah, they popped the cap in Stephen Paddock and blamed the whole thing on him, busted out the windows. There were shots being seen and filmed by cab drivers pulling up to the Mandalay right at that moment and saw shots coming from lower levels. But all the witnesses were also saying that shots were being fired on the ground. That's what Ed Spina and himself said. But right across from so the Mandalay Bay is kind of kitty corner to where it was, but right directly across is the Luxor, that big pyramid in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has a beam that goes straight up. You can see it from outer space.
Yep.
So bright. And there's a magician there called Chris Angel, mm-hmm. that once again inverted. He kind of looks like Marilyn Manson, really dark and real kind of evil. And so those guys were saying that he was part of it, that he was like doing some kind of occult ritual magic on the whole thing and given these FBI shooters cover. This is what Ed Spina and his psychic friend were telling me that night. And there was all this weird stuff that was happening. For example, some people were filming and got some footage of shooters on the ground at that concert. And then they scattered because there were some white hats that were tracking them down. And there was even footage of bin Salman. So he went out and was gambling. He loves gambling. That's why he goes to Vegas, wearing street clothes. And they're walking through Hooters with all these armed guards going like this. So it all kind of makes sense in the context of a false flag that had to happen because they got caught. They weren't able to get the guns. Bin Salman wasn't up in the Mandalay Bay when he should have been, and he got tipped off. And then they got him out of there and kept him alive. Other weird things that happened on the Strip that night, including the Bellagio Hotel, got shot up by one of these guys running away just to create a diversion. And there were people who filmed all the glass on the in the lobby that night. And then the next day they go down, everything's fixed, everything's cleaned up. And they say, hey, because of what happened last night, we would like a refund on our room. They said, oh, we don't know what you're talking about. They said, we happen to have the footage of all the glass on the ground. That's what we're talking about. Said, let me get the manager. Oh, we'll give you a refund now. And all this weird stuff, including helicopters flying over unmarked, because every plane and helicopter has an identification marker. And if you have the right software, you can track every single plane. And these ones did not have any tracking. And there were some reports too of shots being fired out of the helicopter. And there's a big tank there because the McCarran Airport is right behind this concert scene. There's these big oil tanks that just got riddled with gunfire. They were trying to blow this thing up, create another diversion. Fortunately, that never happened. But when people were fleeing, they were like jumping the fence and running into McCarran Airport and stuff. It's total chaos and terrible what happened.
Right.
And so Ed Spina and his psychic friend, they said what they had to do to get these people out of there. They're create a big false flag diversion, and using Chris Angel in such a way to put a like a dark magic spell on people, which would help with the narrative to get people to believe this Stephen Paddock story.
Right.
And like I said, just a few weeks ago, WikiLeaks did a huge data dump, and part of it was FBI was involved in the shooting at the Las Vegas massacre.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Actually, it resonates with Chris Angel because he always it's always been off to me. And there's no question that some of these magicians are actually dealing with black magic, white magic. Like
they're actual magicians.
Actual magicians, yeah, on some level. Like it's not just an illusion. I definitely believe that, like with David Blaine and probably Chris Angel. And they're just tapping into the human potential, I would say. And it's how you use that is up to you. You can use it for good or bad. And then the Luxor, that pyramid with that light coming up, that's not just a light. I'm sure that's some sort of energy source. Actually, Aaron and I were driving here. He was here for Christmas break, and we were driving on the highway. We coming on the on-ramp, and there's this gigantic church right on the side of the highway. It's all lit up, and it has a huge, like a temple, like a tower. And we both saw, it was a foggy night. And so the light, it was all lit up. But we saw a beam coming up from the top of that tower, going straight up. It was black because whatever energy it was creating, there was no fog there, basically. Remember that, Aaron?
Yeah, I do.
We both saw like a beam coming up that wasn't, for some reason, the fog.
It was like a line. Yeah, it was like a straight beam, like a line. Yeah.
It wasn't a light. It was just where the fog was surrounding it, because whatever energy field it was creating, the fog it couldn't penetrate it.
And that was coming out of the Luxor pyramid there from the top?
No, that's from a church here in St. Louis. Okay. Yeah. But it's a big, massive church on the side of the highway. It's like way too big. I mean, I'm sure who knows what it's for, but.
And the other weird thing about that site is there was a big billboard that would have been seen by everybody at the concert that had the like hardcore gloom and doom message from some church in Vegas. It's interesting you bring up the church that said, if you don't repent your sinful ways, you will die a horrible death. Something like that. I got a picture of it. It was really bizarre to see that. Not only that, but the Luxor Hotel right across the street, even closer to the shooting scene than the Mandalay Bay, is replete with all kind of occult symbolism. There is an avenue of these rams, and the ram is the god of war and destruction. There's obelisks there, just like in the city of London and Washington, D.C. and the Vatican all have obelisks. The Empire of Three Cities, which are all city-states within larger countries and cities.
Yeah.
They got all the occult symbolism in the Luxor right across the street from the shooting too, where Chris Angel was performing that month.
Right. There's so much more going on in Vegas than we realize.
Yeah.
And John Lear, he said that one of the hotels they built was purely a guise so they can develop an underground base, an entrance to an underground base and tunnel system. So they were building this hotel so it would be a cover for them to bring in materials so to develop out this underground base there that actually led to a tram system, the maglev system that goes all over the world or country, whatever. But he had some really interesting details and photographs and stuff that, I mean, he's not lying about it. I don't think he is. I definitely think that might have been the case. And who knows what else is going on there.
And it was the maglev that went right into Area 51. So they wouldn't have to fly in or take a bus. They could just be there within 10 minutes rather than an hour and a half if they had to drive.
Right. He said you get called into work and you just go walk in this hotel and take the elevator down.
I know where that is. It's still under construction. It's still a facade. That was the whole thing.
Yeah. Is that true? It's under construction still? Because he did mention like it was never meant to be finished. Like, I don't know.
Last time I was Vegas and saw that site 2 or 3 years ago, it was still unfinished. Construction fences all around. I don't think it's ever meant to be finished. Right. Or maybe the white hats are going to take it out and put an end to it. Just in the same way, like I said earlier in the show, that now you can see S4 on Google Earth. So the revelations are coming. If you know what to look for and you know where to look, you can find a lot of confirmations now on all this stuff we've been talking about over the years. Yeah. So that's interesting that rather than more censorship on some of these sensitive subjects, we're getting more openness. That to me suggests that the white hats are winning this battle behind the scenes.
Right. Which I think is the case, but it just has to play out on the surface. I know there's a 3D aspect to the illusion that just has to play out. And that's only going to change when the collective awareness changes, you know. It's just not. As long as people are falling for it and taking the bait, it's going to keep working, you know.
Right.
Well, Brad, this has been awesome, man. Thank you for joining us. I know you got a bunch more interviews coming up, but is there anything in particular you want to plug? Where can people find you, just in case they might not know?
Yeah, sure. If people are interested in what I'm up to and my projects and the conferences that I'm going to speak at 2022, you can go to bradolsen.com. That's BRADOLSEN.com. If you want to get a signed copy of Beyond Esoteric or any of my other books, the only place you can get those is cccpublishing.com. And I also publish, it's my business, other authors like Leo Lion-Zagami, Lon Milo Duquette, and several others. Go there and you can browse all our books for free using the Google Books app. So invite people to check the book out before you buy it. And if you like what you see, get it through our site. And then I can sign copies for people that way too.
Awesome. Yeah. And we'll put all those links in the description. So whoever's interested, you can just go there and it'll take you straight to them. Thanks for joining us, man. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, good luck. I mean, I know you got a few more interviews coming up, and I don't know how you're not exhausting yourself, but keep it up, man, because we appreciate what you're doing. And seriously, thank you. And this was fascinating. That Vegas story was definitely well worth it. And, you know, we need to start, that stuff needs to start getting out. We need to hear that stuff. We need to change the narrative, you know?
Question everything.
Right.
That's all
yep.
Right. Don't take anything on face value. Just look into it yourself. And interestingly enough, you can still find a lot of verification out there on the internet, but just be really discerning
Yes.
You know, there's disinformation out there too. But the interesting thing about disinformation, and I've known a few in my day, they'll give you 90% mind-blowing truth, but then they'll always throw in that red herring, that 10% where they need to, their handlers say, direct the conversation that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of disinformation. You can get some really good stuff, but unless you are devoted to the truth, like you guys are on the journey to truth, and just say it's either shite or shinola.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
you just gotta, if you make a mistake, man up and say, hey, I was wrong.
Right.
But
I mean,
for the most part, collect those data points and get that information and piece together this mosaic as best you can, because there is a lot of junk out there too.
yeah, I mean, everyone's guilty of it. You just have to man up to it. Like you said, if you go back and listen to some old episodes, I'm sure we were off with some stuff, you know, talking about things that may have never manifested or whatever. And then it's just, we have to really, you know, be humble about it, self-correct and move forward. But it's really important to me to stay neutral, because we don't marry yourself to any individual or their information. Just take it all in, connect the dots for yourself. Even the shills, like you said, that control that position, they have good information mixed in with the bad stuff. So everybody has a piece of the puzzle, and it's up to you to find out what pieces are what and what fits together. And then that's what we're trying to help people do, honestly, because it is confusing out there and it's really tough to know what to believe right now. I suggest take it in, absorb it, and then and only keep what resonates, and you know the rest can just toss to the side. But thanks again, man. This was awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the support, all the donations. We love you guys. Don't forget to grab a ticket to our conference. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking a lot more about that when we have Tony on this Sunday, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, have a great evening, and we will see you next time.